Welcome everyone. We are in Sheridan this week for the class of 2023 graduation session, and I am lucky enough to come spend some time here with Jen Crouse before the session for another episode of our Leading Wyoming podcast. So Jen, thanks for making time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And so Jen and I actually met last fall virtually when Leadership Wyoming launched the Brio Collective, the women's leadership cohort, and Jen and I actually were both participants in it. And so Jen, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about your experience in Brio and sort of what you got out of it.
Yeah, so thank you. First of all, thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. I feel so privileged and honored to be able to be a part of this. So thank you.
Yeah.
So Brio was an amazing program. So as soon as I read the announcement, I knew that I needed to apply. I just felt like a calling. There was something that I needed to apply for. And I'm so glad I did. It was just an amazing group of women joined together and just from all different areas. So I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, though, is we did the Hogan assessment, and Rosie Berger was actually my coach.
Mine too.
So, so doing the assessment, I've never done Hogan before. I've done so many other leadership assessments or personality scales, and so just having the Hogan just provided me with a whole new, different outlet. And what I realized is I needed a lot of more balance in my life. So I really took that away. And Rosie, when she received my score, she said, we might have a problem. So that just being a little, so on my assessment, just really heroism or loyalty and work, it just scores really, really high, extremely high. And then related to maybe fun, relaxations, minimally on the chart. And so I kind of realized, wow, I have this workaholic tendency maybe. And so it's not anything we all strive for. So it was such a great reflection for me to be able to stop and pause. And I have a 9-year-old son named Waylon, who everybody seems to know, and he's just so wonderful. But yeah, just being able to balance leadership plus being able to balance my wonderful husband and my son Waylon was a big reflection.
Oh, that's
and then just being able to share that with the rest of the group and see that we all kind of have the same struggles was just really, really special to me.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, that was the first time I had done the Hogan too. And I think what I took away from that is I went into it thinking that it would be something that I would get out of my career, I see this in my career and my job, but I realized that all those things you could take home and be I do this at home, or I act this way, so it was really beneficial to me. And then just having the group of women, and I think I really appreciated the connections was really important for me, because I went into the group knowing no one else in there. I know some people had already known each other from Leadership Wyoming or elsewhere, and I didn't know anyone. So it's just great having all those women across the state now that I feel a connection to.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so recently, one of your colleagues, Amy Albright, she wrote a leadership moment about how one of the most positive leadership qualities is showing gratitude. And she wrote, "The embodiment of gratitude is my boss, Jen Crouse. Amy says you never fail to write handwritten notes or tell your employees specifically what you're grateful for, or just make people feel seen, appreciated, and talented." So I'm just wondering, is that a trait that you've always held, or is that something that you picked up along your leadership journey? And how do you find that showing gratitude as a leader is an important trait?
Yeah. So I think it's something that I've probably always internally had, but I had a really great boss, and I used to work in healthcare, so one of my first supervisors, my first bosses, was just really great about saying thank you. And for me, we always say, what's your love language? What's important to you? And for me, it's not money or having a title. It's truly just a thank you. All my supervisor has to do for me is just say thank you. It's amazing how it makes you feel and how it empowers you and what it can do for you. And one of my first supervisors he was just wonderful. And I felt like it wasn't just thank you. It was very genuine. And so it helped me to develop that, just the way it made me feel. And I really wanted my employees to feel that as well, that I'm just genuinely grateful for all of them. And I have a very large role as the director of the foundation and the vice president of student affairs, and it's several employees. And I am able to function in my role because of them. I'm able to do well because of them. I have just amazing employees. So I don't feel like you can say thank you enough. Like I know that I'm successful in my job because of them. So I just feel like one of my main things that I talk to them about is just grace and gratitude, grace and gratitude. Like we're going to show each other grace in all situations, and then we're going to say thank you and be thankful for each other in all situations. So I have to tell you a funny story about that. That moment. So it's been a very, very busy time here at the college, just really, really busy. And that came out on a Tuesday, and on Sunday after church I was laying there and I was in deep thought, and I told my husband, do you ever feel like wonder if you're where you need to be? Like, do you ever feel like you're doing what, in my mind, are you doing what God calls you to do? Are you doing where you're supposed to be in life? And my husband said, wow, that's really deep. He was like, okay, no, I've never really had that. But I was just laying there thinking, well, maybe, is this where I need to be? And that was like a Sunday. And then I went through my busy Monday, and then Tuesday morning, like that was there. And it was such a confirmation to me in such a busy time. So I called Amy right away. And I'm like, oh, Amy, I just applied all my makeup. Why did you do this to me? Like, I was crying, but it was so kind of her, but it was, in turn, such a, kindness breeds kindness, it was such a confirmation to me that I was exactly where I needed to be.
That's amazing.
It was cool. Yeah,
that's
really
cool.
Great.
I love what you said about grace and gratitude, too. Just always having that in the back of your mind to give people grace and gratitude. Yeah. That's also something I learned. I wonder where you are on the recognition scale in Hogan. Do you remember?
I can't remember.
Yeah, that was something that because I'm into the love language thing too. And so that was really helpful for me to be like, oh, the Hogan is sort of similar to that in that you possess these qualities. If you're high on recognition, then you also love to give people recognition because that's what you want. Yeah. And so that was interesting to me to because I think I'm sort of middle of the road recognition. And so I do like it when people show me gratitude and tell me thank you for my work, but I don't like it in a public way. And so that was, whereas some people, if they're super high, maybe they want it in a public way, and then they give it to their employees in a public way, but their employee might be really low, and they're like, I don't like this. So, yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Great story.
Yes.
Well, speaking of stories, for the past few years at the Leadership Wyoming graduation session, which is at the one we're in right now, it's included you sharing your life story with the class. And so for those alumni who might be listening who haven't had a chance to hear your story, would you mind sharing that with us today?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Great. Oh man, every time I show, it's been 28 years since my car accident. And I always tear up every time.
Oh, so, no.
Yeah,
I'm going to cry.
No, we're good. So I think kind of shorter and sweet, I'm related to it. So I'm a T5 spinal cord injury. So I've been paralyzed since I was 16 years old. I was in a really severe car accident, just 16 years old, driving way too fast and lost control of my car. So I broke my back and my neck, and the worst part is that my back, I broke my back and all my ribs broke and went into my lungs. So I was having a very hard time breathing. So I was sent flight for life. I'm originally from Colorado to a trauma hospital in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where I fought for my life. And so yeah, I was on a ventilator for a couple of weeks, and I think the hardest part of this story that I was in and out of consciousness. So my face was very swollen from the accident, but I could see people coming in, see family members coming in, but I couldn't speak to them. And so just awareness of whether I could be conscious, I was conscious or not, that they felt like I was maybe unconscious. So a lot of conversations were happening around me, which I could hear. So, lots of prayers, and things like that. But one day the doctor came in and recommended that my parents stop my life support because I had been on life support for so long. And so in that moment, all I could do was hear my mom cry, and then I heard silence. Like I was alone in this room, not knowing what was going to happen next. So that will stay with me forever, when something like that happens. So again, I never want to influence my religion on anybody, but for me in that moment, I just prayed. Like all you can do is that's what I was taught to do, and I just prayed that God would save my life. And you make these bargains with God, right? Like, well, if you save my life, then I promise I knew something was going on with my body, but I didn't know what. And I'll never dwell on it. And I'll do everything. I promise I'll be a super great person.
I'll make my bed every morning.
Yeah. So I just really, and within days, my lungs started to miraculously heal, and within a week I was off life support. So I went from recommending that I get up, like my parents stopped my life support, to where I was on my own, breathing on my own. So it was just, it left me with feeling like I had so much purpose. Like why me, God? Like why would you save my life out of all the people that go through these circumstances and don't make it? Why would you save me? And so I felt really excited, and just like a miracle. The trauma doctor came in and said, "You are a true miracle. Like things like this just don't happen." But shortly after that, I went into a physical rehab, where you have to learn how to dress and bathe and dress in a wheelchair and take showers in a wheelchair. And I was turned 17 in the hospital, and I felt ugly. I felt and so I went from praying that God would save my life to praying that God would take my life. Like, I laid there so many times in that rehab, like, I can't do this. Like, I never knew anyone in a wheelchair. I didn't know people can function in wheelchairs, even though everybody told me you could. But it took me 30 minutes just to get my pants on. And that felt like, and when you're a 17-year-old going into senior in high school, and all your friends are coming to see you, and you realize, wow, like, I'm really different. And it was hard. But I had an amazing nurse. Her name was Jennifer as well. That was close to my age, and she gave me tons of encouragement and just really took the time, again, just to show grace and kindness to me, and really helped me get out of what I would call like a full-blown depression of just what that looked like. And she helped me realize that I could go to school. And even though my family was not wealthy by any means, and so she helped me provide resources of how to go to school and how to attend college. So after my senior year, I went to college and got a bachelor's in social work. So I have a bachelor's in social work, and I was a medical social worker for several years. And then we reported up to the chief financial officer at the hospital. And he said, at like a really young age, he said, "You have leadership skills. If we pay for your MBA, will you go? Like, to be at a director level, you got to have a master's." So at 25, I went back to school, got my master's, and at 27, I was the director of all post-acute care services, and I was the youngest director at St. Mary Corbin Hospital in Pueblo, Colorado. And so 27 years old and 103 employees, and had to learn really, really quickly about key leadership. So I've been, I was in healthcare for over 18 years, and I was then moved on to be a hospital CEO for rehabilitation hospitals for people with disabilities just like me. So it was so amazing to be the CEO and then meet new spinal cord injuries and let them see, like, your life does go on after an injury. And that's when it really hit me. I never understood it when I was 16, 17 years old. But now I'm in my 30s and I'm running a hospital, and I could be like, oh, this is how you dress in bed. This is how you hop in a car. This is how you drive with hand controls, And it really hit me why God saved my life. Like, it was to help other people with disabilities realize that you could go on, you know. And so it wasn't until years later I was like, this is why I'm meant to be here. And I met an amazing man. His name is Dustin. And when I was running a hospital in Arizona, and he's just the kindest, most amazing person. He told me when we got married, there's nowhere that, look at you.
I know.
there's nowhere.
I told you I was crying.
Yeah, he said, there's nowhere that I will go that you won't be able to go with me. So he's adopted 4-wheelers and just everything where I could go on hikes and fishing trips, and we have a camper that's a toy hauler that I could just go right up the road, you know, and he stayed so true. We've been married over 10 years, and then I have a 9-year-old son that I was able to give birth naturally to, where the odds were so against being able to do that, but when God has a purpose, you're just able to do that. And so I have an amazing son named Waylon, who is just the biggest gift to my life. And so I guess I'm just the reason why I have so much gratitude for people, and I just have so much gratitude for my life. Like, I just have so much gratitude in life. Like, every day is just a gift, and I just feel so blessed to be here and talking with people and be able to give back in all ways that I could give back. So that's everything in a nutshell. Now
That is an
graduation
amazing
class
story.
gets like 30 minutes longer, but for this reason, that's all of it in a nutshell.
Oh, wow. That's an incredible story,
Yeah.
Jen. I'm just curious, the gentleman who saw those leadership skills in you at a young age and offered you the master, was it a master's you said? Yeah, did he ever say what skills, or do you have any idea, like what sort of leadership skills did he see in you at that young age?
Yeah, I think, so we were having a difficult time with our supervisor at that time, so we were a group of social workers, and we were having a difficult time with our supervisor at that time, and I just didn't feed into the negativity. Like, I just took like a natural leadership role of, we're going to get our duties done, we're going to, you know, still serve our patients and still do what we need to do and not feed into any type of negativity or go down a different way. Just try to lead in a different way of positivity without talking bad about my supervisor or going away where, you know, there's always like, when things are going bad, you know, people survive in different ways, you know, and some get in a group this way or report things differently, and I just tried to keep the team together as much as possible in a positive way to mainly serve the patients that we were serving. And I think he was able to recognize that, and I did it without even like thinking about I was doing it. But it was one thing that he shared with me that I was able to do, just able to bring a team together.
Yeah, that's another great leadership quality, for sure. Well, wow, thank you so much, Jen. I'm quite sure that you have inspired alumni to revisit their personal mission statements and their, you know, maybe look back at those gold boxes from graduation and feel gratitude for their lives as well. And this has been amazing. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. We will be back soon with more Leading Wyoming episodes. We want to thank Jen Crouse for her time, sharing her story, and being a part of the Leading Wyoming podcast.